So I am delighted to welcome Barbara Bouffard and James McInerney to another edition of the Business in AI podcast. And Barbara and James are co-founders of Logic Lab, and I'm really looking forward to finding out more about what you do. And so welcome to the podcast, Barbara and James.
Thank
Hi,
you.
Tim.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we're really excited to be here.
Great. And I wonder whether you could just start by telling us a bit more about what it is that Logic Lab does and your story about how you got here.
Yeah, so maybe I'll start with that, if that's okay, Tim. So basically, Logic Lab and James and I are on a mission to help business, especially SMEs, to truly transform how they operate through AI automation. So what does that mean in practice is that we sit down with the business, we identify the areas where AI can make a real difference, and then we build tailored solutions that are powerful, but are practical and affordable. So we start with low-hanging fruit, which are easily achievable, and then we can move on to more complex setup. So some of examples of product we created was like lead generation agent to help business find new clients. We can do enhanced note-taking assistance that capture and organize knowledge more efficiently. We can create document creators to save hours of repetitive work, and even company training chatbots to support staff learning. So we design solutions to be accessible with templates starting from just a few £1,000. And we don't stop at the technology. We can offer training for employees so they can be more confident using AI. So basically, our goal is to empower the team and the entire business so they can adopt new AI opportunities, so we can help employees to do more and become more valuable. So we develop systems to keep humans preserving valuable skills while automating the mundane tasks. We like to WordPress builder for AI. So just like WordPress made websites simple and scalable, we are doing the same for AI solutions. We do a lot of this through N8N, which is an automation platform, and we love working with it. So we're trying to make AI practical, affordable, and empowering for small businesses.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for giving us that sort of background there. And what was your sort of story before then? What was your sort of your background? Have you been working with small businesses a lot? Are you coming at this more from a technology background?
Yeah, so we sort of spun this out of Innovate Design, which is our product development consultancy. That started, Barbara helped co-found that over 25 years ago. And that has a full UK team of designers and engineers and software developers based in Salisbury in Wiltshire. And so we started by developing consumer products. Then about 8 years ago, we were starting to develop apps and software. And now we've sort of moved from software into AI. And it all actually started a couple of years ago. One of the researchers in the research team was getting really into AI in the very early days, and they were helping us with our business start getting into AI. So we made them an offer. If you can make the research team 20% more efficient, then you can, that kind of pays for you as 1/5 of that team to come and start helping us with the AI side of the business. And so within 2 months, they'd made that team 20% more efficient. And by the end of that year, by the end of 2024, they were helping us to make double the research for the same price. And this was before tools like deep research and things were coming along. He was helping us build our own AI agents that were going off and doing research and things. And then so from there, we started to find we were getting double the research, which was leading to more conversions into other services. We were also doing, the design team was 10% more efficient and the sales team was 15% more efficient. So we were able to use this and keep building with that. But we found that, talking to our clients and talking to our suppliers, other businesses weren't getting this same benefit. They weren't kind of able to move past ChatGPT. So this is where we decided to start helping other businesses with these services. These businesses that we're working with, we're into double figures now. Unfortunately, a lot of them aren't too keen to share what they're doing on the AI side because they don't want their competitors understanding the kind of systems that we're building for them and things, and they want to keep that edge. But We can certainly talk in detail about the tools that we're building for them, because we build the same tools for ourselves at Innovate as well on the design business side. So the two work really well. You know, what we learn from what we're building for ourselves, we can then go and help other people with.
Yeah, well, I'd love to come into some of those case studies in a bit and to find out a bit more, albeit anonymously. But I think what's really interesting in your story is the fact that you actually went through this process of transformation yourselves. So you understand firsthand how AI can really improve the productivity and the efficiency of your team, and those great numbers you stated there. Was that sort of almost like a sort of a wake-up call, or kind of like a light bulb moment that you had, and then that was what's driving your enthusiasm to be able to share that with your other customers now as well?
Maybe I can answer that a little bit. So I think we were lucky because we had James on board to really help us drive the AI solution. But you're right. So what we found is a lot of managing directors or sort of people at the top of SMEs are reluctant to implement AI, and is essentially in part lack of knowledge, and they're just worried about the whole process. They're just scared of it all. So what we see is like a lot of SMEs are not really truly engaging with taking on board AI, and it's driven by the employees themselves. So we find that employees will use a private ChatGPT account, which is not a secure way of doing it, because the top management level are not implementing processes within the company to fully operate and make sense of efficiencies. So for us, the wake-up call was James said, come on, guys, we need to do something about it. So we were driven by that, and also by the other AI team that really pushed us. And now we're trying to help other SMEs see sense in that and say, look, you've got to get AI in your process. If you don't, you're just going to fall behind. I think there was a recent study from the University of St. Andrews that revealed that UK small businesses adopting AI are seeing productivity increasing between 27% and 133%. So what we need to do is making sure they can get the 133%, and that means going beyond ChatGPT, is using sort of AI agent and AI automation.
Yeah, well, I'd love to hear some of those case studies. I think, James, this might be now the time if you could sort of share some of those examples of maybe in the industries, if you want to keep it at a high level. But it would be great to sort of really share with the audience how you start this process, how you identify the problem, and then how you kind of build the solution and put those solutions together, and maybe some of the results. I think it's always fascinating to hear those kind of case studies.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of our original background is in product development, developing products. Way back 25 years ago, that's where we started, and so we've got a really good understanding of manufacturing and how to get products to production and how to deal with logistics and things. So it's turned out that knowledge has helped us, it's kind of the work with suppliers in those industries. So we're working with a lot of manufacturers and logistics companies and people like that we're able to help. And in terms of the process, we do work with other companies, of course, as well, but it just seems to be a good fit in terms of those, those industries. And what we start with is, we start by talking to companies and getting to know the problems that they're having, the pains that they have as a business and the gains that they're trying to make. And then we do an AI audit to be able to map those to AI solutions. And we have we've sort of looked at solutions in terms of they have to meet certain criteria for us to offer them. So they have to be solutions that can keep the human in the loop, as you call it. So human in the loop is when their team can stay in control of the AI. So we're looking to provide solutions where that's possible. So that the way the AI works needs to be transparent, and we need to have the ability to help them learn to work with it and to be able to use it. So there's things like solutions after the audit that we'd recommend would be things like systems that can train to answer questions on their how their processes work. So we call them Ask the SOP chatbots. So standard operating procedures are things that some companies have and some companies need to create, and we can then train AI chatbots on those that can help their businesses train employees on how to do things without wasting the time of their most experienced team. So what a lot of the companies we talk to tell us is that a lot of their best employees, their best staff are being having all their time taken up training new people because they're growing as a business. So now their best staff can't do that great work they were doing. So the Ask the SOP chatbots can help train the team in a way. Then we have things like being able to build the note-taking assistants. So you get a lot of out-of-the-box note-taking assistants now, but by automating with those, we can build even more powerful systems that can, for example, take notes. Those notes can then be turned into tasks that go into project management systems. Depending on the notes, if there was talk of another meeting happening, then the note taker can organize that meeting, actually book the meeting into people's calendars. So there's powerful things you can kind of join together by doing an automation system rather than a collection of out-of-the-box AI solutions. Other systems we build, so a lot of companies are starting to use, whether it's ChatGPT or it's Copilot or Gemini, we can build the kind of, whether you call them agents or custom GPTs or gems in Gemini, we can help them build sort of advanced ways of using those systems basically within that. And we can also work with email automation, so helping to draft emails to send to people in response to emails they've sent. And we can train on your tone, we can train on your SOPs, your standard operating procedures, and we can do things like adding attachments or forwarding the email to other people, depending on what needs to happen in your process. And again, with all these things, their teams stay in control. So the emails aren't automatically being sent. The email is drafted so a human can come along and complete the email, finish writing it, and have it, to the ready to send. In terms of the chatbots, again, we want that transparency, so we can build analytics on the chatbot. So rather than people just chatting to it and you can't see what's going on, you can anonymously collect that data and you can interrogate it. So you can look for patterns. For example, you could look at whether people are asking the same question a lot of times. That could indicate maybe your training system doesn't provide that information, or it could indicate you need to give some more training in that area. So generally, we're starting from the audit and then we're moving into building some of these simple systems to get companies going. But often, sometimes what we're doing as well is combining in some of our other skills in terms of software and things, because some of these companies are coming to the AI age, if you like, having not fully sort of embraced the software age, and they might be working with spreadsheets to run the business and things like that. So sometimes we're putting some other things in place as well to help them bring it all together.
Yeah, really interesting. Thank you for sharing those case studies there. And just thinking about how you're engaging with the people in the organizations, trust and confidence is often, they're two of the things that we find as friction in organizations, that people are approaching technology, like you say, they might not yet have adopted software. So now to try and get them to adopt AI, they bring along a lot of anxiety and nervousness around it because they've read scare stories in the press. They're worried it's going to take their jobs, all of these kind of concerns. I imagine those kind of play into your engagement when you're going and meeting with these companies, and particularly, I presume you're meeting with managers and leaders, but then also there's a wider base of employees who are even more concerned. And I wondered how much that is something that you see with the businesses that you're talking to, and what do you think is the solution to try and overcome that and get them on board and build that trust?
Well, there's a couple of things. Obviously, we've used to work confident, with under NDA with a lot of our clients for 25 years. So it's something we've got in our system. We work with in confidentiality agreements. So we just replicate that with our customers. I think in terms of security side and employees is slightly different. So security side, maybe James can talk to you about it, because he's done a lot of effort and work, so we can work, under a lot of security. We're having sort of protocol in place. In terms of the employees, we take them on board. So our approach is not to replace the employees; it's very much make sure they can upskill themselves, they can become more valuable, they can learn a lot more. So, for instance, if within Innovate, and that was our first case study because we had to implement a lot of AI solutions within our company, we didn't sack anybody. We just made everybody more efficient so we can do more for our clients. So, that's the approach we've got, is just making sure you're going to upskill yourself. Your client's going to be more satisfied. You can do a better job at it. And we replicate that with the company we're working with. And then perhaps you can touch about on the more technical side of security we got in place with our system.
Yeah, and I think it's also worth noting that the reality is some of these the value of business in different areas is changing. So for our research team, we were making them more efficient, and where we were finding there's not necessarily double the work coming in as a result of that, but we have been able to retrain staff members into doing AI things. So the first member of that team came from the research background, and the second, we trained up another person from the research team to come and help us on the AI side. So we think that companies having these skills to be able to learn how to do AI is going to be really important. I think that's where we see ourselves as kind of like a WordPress web developer. Before WordPress, web developers were doing everything. So if you needed a change to your website, you'd have to go and ask the web developer. And then WordPress came along, and now businesses were able to make changes to their website, and the web developer built the system. And I think that's how that's going to play out in the short term with AI, that companies are going to learn these skills to be able to start to make changes to their systems themselves. And a system like NAN, which is a low-code automation system, makes that very possible. And in terms of security, we can work in with the company's security. So NAN can be self-hosted. So if they're hosting all their systems themselves, whether it's on the cloud or locally, then we can help them do that. If they're using certain providers of cloud services and things already, like maybe Microsoft, then we can work with AI models that are hosted on Microsoft Azure. And the systems we're using are got full GDPR compliance, and come with two-factor authentication and all the kind of usual security you'd expect, SOC 2 and 3 reports and that sort of thing. And on our side, we're keen to just have as little of your data as possible. So if we're setting up email automations, we don't have access to your emails. We don't want that. We can help you do that without us needing access. So yeah, we're very keen to obviously automations come with bigger risks. So if you're dealing with ChatGPT, then AI is kept in a bubble, if you like. It's not really, it can bring information into its bubble, but it can't really send anything out. So when you're dealing with automations, now you can send information into other systems. So we do have to take that very seriously and be very careful about how we deliver those.
Yeah, yeah, it feels like it's an increasingly big concern, I think, for many businesses in the AI space, because there are just more vulnerabilities as we're starting to build out things like agentic and bolting together new systems that maybe haven't been checked and haven't gone through that process because they're so new. Bolting everything together then just increases those number of vulnerabilities. So I think, yes, cybersecurity is quite a super area. We're actually
Sorry, Tim, I was just going to add one more thing on that as well, because like you were saying, the agentic thing, where you start giving, say, an LLM lots of tools, again, like you say, that's another concern. We experimented with that in the early days, and I'm sure those things are going to keep developing and mature. But what we found is that it's too unreliable to do things like that. So we split out the AI into a much more almost programmatic software-based solution where there's many AIs split out across the process, and that helps you strap down what each task is being done is very much more constrained. So the AI, while it can be very powerful in what it can do, is limited to just doing that one thing at each step in the process, so that it's able to be much more repeatable.
That's interesting then. So this is then becoming almost like an open source process then. And I was going to ask you about that as well, because that's definitely a trend that we're seeing across the industry, is that even some of the big foundational models now are making their models available as open source. And there's already quite a large community of open source developers now who are creating the parts to pull together, particularly around agentic. So it sounds like what you're saying is almost now that you're sort of working with that those sort of components, but also building a sort of guard layer around them to ensure that then your end customer is able to kind of buy something with the assurance that that you've done all the hard work to put it all together. So I'm putting words into your mouth, but have I understood correctly?
Yeah, we can often find when we're talking about these things, it can be hard for other people to, it's hard to communicate and translate some of these concepts. So you've done a good job of boiling down what we're saying there. But it's kind of, like you say, the future, we've gone through a period where it's more and more software as a service product. So an ever increasing number of softwares provided that you pay monthly for. And there's a potential that what we're moving towards is people building their own solutions, like you say, using these kind of systems that make it a lot cheaper and easier to do. And, we might see that that moving forwards, being able to deliver solutions as a service where you're paid to come in like a web developer and build a solution for someone. We think that's where companies will want to be, because they can build these much more targeted solutions to their business. And like you say, to keep it secure, part of that is splitting out the AI into specific tasks to get it to be much more repeatable.
Great. Yeah, well, thank you. That's really helpful for me to understand, kind of where your focus is. And are there any other areas that you're looking to develop as you sort of scan the needs of your customers? Are they sort of saying, well, this is a big area that we need your help with? Any areas that you're seeing growth with there? Maybe
shall I take this one?
No, James, you go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, in terms of things which we are helping businesses with, so we started with these kind of templates that we'd built for ourselves in terms of these sort of, I guess we think of them as like foundations of kind of AI automation, the chatbots and the transcribing and the connecting things like that into your existing systems. And then we've got ever more complex templates that are ever more niche as we keep going. So, we're able to help with systems that are several things strung together that are targeted at specific industries, like an RFP system that can take your request for proposal, go and do some research on it. It can come back with the results of that research, look up your process for applying for RFPs, combine that in with your voice, and then write the RFP for you, ready to review. So it's almost like having a junior in your RFP team who's gone off and done that junior work and brought it forward for you to sign off, finalize, and send off. And then, of course, you add the layer of the data analytics on that. So you're looking at, so Barbara's background in the Innovate side, she's a bit of a master of SEO and data and things. And we often have consultants who would come in and try and assist us. And they look at how Barbara set things up and say, oh, to be fair, you've already kind of nailed that. So with the analytics side, bringing that over into AI, you can now have the AI system looking at the performance of that RFP automation that you've built and improving it. And that's, again, something we think we're going to see more moving forwards. We're already working with our AI systems to improve the automations that we're creating. So the AI agents themselves can be sort of connected together, but then they can also be put to use to improve the system, look for bottlenecks, look for areas where you could improve what you've created. So yeah, I think, having systems for our clients that are more complex and more targeted to those industries, templating those things so we can provide even better prices to deliver them, and then bringing in the AI systems to provide analytics and to improve the systems as well.
I guess the other thing I would add to James on what James said is also we're looking at sort of we're having an experience as business consultants that we've had with Innovate for the last 25 years, and that we bring that skills as well with Logic Lab, because we're going beyond just doing AI automation. We have to understand the business, understand the structure, and so therefore we're combining this kind of technical AI sort of solution with business consultant, which we've been doing for the last 25 years.
Yeah,
it's bringing in that sort of a whole business understanding as well. And that's important because we've been talking about the technical side of things, which is obviously I think a lot of people associate AI as being a very technical thing, but actually, Barbara, you're absolutely right. The challenge now, I think, isn't about building the actual technology. It's about getting the whole organization on board, from the leadership through to the sort of entry level, and actually so getting them to engage with that. Could you maybe expand upon that? And have you got some sort of examples of where you sort of found it maybe sort of challenging at first to get the company on board, and how you've then sort of gone in there and sort of shown them, maybe with some of your own experience from the examples you gave earlier on? Barbara, is that something that you've worked on?
Yeah, we definitely had some challenging times where we're trying to sort of, we have the initial conversation and everything goes very well. And then when you're trying to put system in place, people go in different directions. And I think you have to have a panel, you're speaking to different people. You have the leaders, the managing directors and, some of the directors there. And then you then have to talk to the employees to put the system in place. And it's trying to make that bridge between the employee and the leaders of the company. And therefore, we just have to make sure everybody comes on board and are on the same page. And this is, basically as a consultant, we just give advice, but we can also trying to make sure everybody sees each side of the coin, if you like. So, but in the end, what we do is a lot of cooking, consulting, get around the table, and we end up putting solutions in place.
Yeah. And when we do the audits, we offer, we often offer either online, so we meet them online, or we can come to site and meet the team face to face. Because again, like you say, it's about building those relationships so that people understand the goal here is to make this company and its employees more efficient, so that that they can be worth more. Essentially, if you can help make everyone do more with their time, then that company is going to be able to outcompete companies where they haven't managed to do that. And we find every company is different, but there are certain patterns. So it seems to be with the larger organizations, when you start to move out of SME size companies, they're much slower to move. Very often it seems to be that the push for AI is coming from the more junior roles, and those roles are sort of showing the middle management what's going on. Middle managers are getting it then and trying to go to the senior management, but there's a lot of distrust of AI when they get to that level, and things can sometimes stall. So there seems to be the larger organizations that seem to be some of the ones we talk to are bringing AI in-house and doing it all themselves. And sometimes I think trying to bite off more than they can chew, and those projects are failing because they're overcomplicating what they're doing. And other companies are kind of getting stuck in the weeds. They just can't get enough momentum to get these things going. Whereas the SMEs we're talking to, sometimes it is the founder or the MD who's the one that's started using ChatGPT or whatever and getting into it and sees where this is going and is coming to us saying, come on, let's transform our business. How can you help us with that? So with the SMEs, it's sometimes more coming from the top and filtering down from there. And then, like you say, it's a question of educating the team. We offer things like workshops, so we can and the workshops we try and do when they're in person, it's pen and paper stuff. Let's just draw on a pen and paper, because now you can take a photo with AI and it can transcribe that pen and paper thing you've drawn. We do things like drawing AI agents, and you get a kind of a picture of your AI agent with what's inside it and things, and using color pens, it's quite fun. And that can help get the team to start thinking like that, because what we sometimes find is that people don't know what they don't know, and until you start that process, they don't realize what's possible. And once you do it and they understand, then their mind just flicks, and suddenly they're coming up with all these ideas, and they're saying, guys, how can you help us? We've had these brilliant ideas. How can we do that? And so they start by saying, they'll say, oh, I don't think you could do that with AI. And we're thinking, actually, you could have already done that with software. You don't even need AI for that thing you think you can't do. And then by the end, they're saying, I've got this idea. How do we do that with AI? And they're much more open to it.
Amazing. That's such a great example. I think that, I can almost see the people in the room there as you were talking, starting off with their arms crossed, sort of like not being sort of engaged. But then it's that sort of light bulb moment, isn't it? When they see something incredible that an AI-powered tool can do, and you see them lean forward, and then you see the sort of cogs start going, and light bulbs going in their head, and they start to kind of become alive with that inspiration. And that's the bit which is really important then, to get employees in an organization engaged with the program. So now I think that's
one more point in that, Tim, is that another thing that we find doing those audits is it's kind of the AI, you say AI and people go, oh, that's interesting. What you're talking about there? And they'll have a conversation with you. But when you do the audits, a lot of what you discover is things that, we've been meaning to do that. We've been meaning to write those standard operating procedures. We've been meaning to upgrade that system that we're running with a spreadsheet. We've been meaning to do that. And it's sort of like an opportunity for the business to just have a sweep through the whole business and just find a lot of things that some of them we can leapfrog the software solution into an AI solution, but others we say, well, let's help you get that software bit going there. Let's just upgrade that spreadsheet into a bit of software that can do that job much more efficiently. And then let's connect that with AI to do some other automation for you. So there's all sorts of good fun that you have in those conversations.
Absolutely, and I think this comes back to the leadership being on board as well, because the directive from the CEO or the managing director in the smaller businesses that you mentioned earlier, they almost start with the goal of that, how can we use AI to make the organization more productive? And then you get into, okay, well, let's find some of those examples of where there's current inefficiency or current problems or historical things that we haven't ever been able to solve, or whatever it is. And then you're stepping in to kind of provide solutions. So they're actually kind of very linked to the specific problem or the goal of productivity. I think what we see in some bigger organizations is often that there is this top-down request to bring AI in, but one, it's not linked to a specific goal. They just want to have AI, but they don't then secondly know what AI is. And so you've got
that as well, yeah.
Yeah. And it's kind of it's almost setting the sort of the team up to fail, because it's sort of saying, well, we just want it because our competitors have got it, or because the board have got it, and actually then it's very hard to deliver on that, especially when you don't have the backing then of maybe the middle management and the wider employees. But it sounds like you've come across those sort of challenges as well.
Yeah, we had one client who had been, we were dealing with sort of a middle manager, and their senior manager had told them and the other managers, look, you just need to start using ChatGPT. Just use ChatGPT more, And that was the training, that was the kind of the instruction. And if you're using ChatGPT more, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be more efficient, because it's how you use it. And we know, we've all seen examples of badly written AI things out in the world and badly created AI images and things. So there's more to it than just use it. You have to learn to use it well. And one of the things we offer is a privacy policy template to help people. Privacy policy, AI policy template to help people to help teach their company on how they can use it. So, guys, these are the softwares that are approved by the business. These are the accounts you can use. Please don't use other accounts. If you want to use a new AI, this is the process. If you have an issue with AI, this is the process. And linking into your other policies like your cybersecurity and things, so that you're helping the company know how to use it well. Because if an employee goes and you say use AI more, and an employee goes and gets a DeepSeek account that's sending all your company data over to somewhere that it shouldn't be, then that's going to be actually really bad news for your business.
That's what we found, that a lot of employees were actually using their own personal ChatGPT account, which is not secure, because all the data is now being used to train the LLM. So by not having any policies, then the company lets themselves open to a lot of security breach, really.
Yeah, I think this is the challenge across the industry, is we build those standards. I mean, it's great that you're working with some of these forward-thinking companies who are actually thinking about governance and putting policies in place. But actually, I think that's still quite rare, mainly because people in those teams just haven't got the resources or the time to be able to focus on coming up with policies and governance, and frankly, often don't see the urgency or the point of coming. But as an industry, it's so vital that we have them. And what we're trying to do is centralize that process and come up with what are the central standards that we should be thinking about, whether that be from cybersecurity or privacy or responsible AI as well. I'm just conscious of time though, and we're going to have to sort of start to wrap things up, unfortunately. But I'd love to hear a little bit about your thoughts for what's coming next. What are you most excited about when you look at what Logic Lab can do, and what you can do for your clients in particular? Bob, when it comes to you first.
So to me, so I think for Logic Lab, I think maybe James can talk about the industry in general, but for Logic Lab, I think what we're really enthusiastic about it is turning these SMEs into super machines that are going to be super powerful, productive, growing, being very healthy. So I think that's our mission, with James and I, just turn those SMEs into super productive machines, really, and upskilling the staff. And we want to do more of that and helping more people.
Fantastic, nice and clear. And thanks, James. What are you most excited?
I think, it's like Barbara, people talk about low productivity in the UK, and UK is where we all live and work, and the better the UK does, the better we all do. And there's been talk of energy costs and need more robotics investment and things, but actually there's this brilliant opportunity that pretty much all businesses can take advantage of, which is to automate with AI and see a huge gains in efficiency that way, which will benefit us all. So we'd love to help more companies do that. And in terms of what that means basically is, we used to be we used to say that you need to solve, all businesses used to be software companies. So even if you didn't make software, you were using software to solve business problems. But now we're in an age where all companies need to transition to being AI companies. So we all need to transition from solving problems with software to solving problems with AI. And that's what we're trying to help businesses do. And where that's going, we think, is that, it's going to be more and more imperative that we all get going with this stuff, because it will move faster and faster. So, not wanting to panic people, but we do need to get moving, and we want to help people take those safe first steps, and then we can all move forwards from there together. The future is going to be very different, I think, than, in 10 years' time, the world, I think, will be very different than it is now. And if we can all take these first steps, we can all meet that challenge.
Fantastic. Great sentiment. I think you're right that it's worthwhile getting going now, because things are changing so quickly. And I come across mostly companies who are quite switched on to this, but I know that we're sort of still the minority, as it were. And there's a lot of companies out there, and a lot of employees, a lot of workers who aren't engaging with this. And this is one of the big challenges for the UK, because we need both the employees across large organizations to be engaging with AI tools and learning about them. But more importantly, we need consumers at large to have the confidence to be able to use these products and services, because ultimately they're not just consumers of the products and services we're all trying to sell. They're also the employees and the next generation of employees, or the kind of like the displaced workers who could go back and deliver this productivity. So as an industry, we've got a responsibility to focus on what are the skills that we need. And they're broader than just the technical skills. It's basic AI literacy skills. I 100% agree with what you're saying there. It's been great to have both of you on the podcast today. I want to just kind of give you the opportunity at the end there to tell us how we can follow what Logic Lab are doing and stay in touch with you. Maybe, James, could you give us a quick sort of way of how do we follow what you're doing?
Yeah, so we do keep an eye out for us on webinars and talks. We've done, I think, about 5 this year, various events. And like I say, we did a talk, did several talks, let's say, that have been quite helpful for SMEs. So keep an eye out for those. You can join us on our LinkedIn page if you search Logic Lab AI, and also on our website, which is logic-lab.ai. And if you get in touch with us through there, you can book a call and we can start having a chat, just find out what you're trying to do and see how we could help.
Fantastic. Thank you. And I look forward to having you as part of the UK AI community, getting you along to more of the events and introducing you to some of our other members who I think would be potential partners and allies for what you're doing, as well as the broader industry as well. But it's been great to have you both on the podcast today. Thank you so much for joining me.